Hello everyone, it's QueenVLionz back to you with another video. This video pertains to Kansas, Indiana, and Idaho, as they have either amended, restricted, and or being sued by the DOJ post the overturning of Roe v. Wade back in June. You will watch this brief clip and I will be back with more commentary.
Now they will be the decision makers in this election. And if Republicans don't wise up and start paying a little bit more attention to them, we're going to get our clock clean.
You know, I think one of those issues where that is showing up is abortion, and particularly, you know, voters in Kansas, they overwhelmingly moved to keep abortion rights in the state constitution. Meanwhile, you've got Indiana state legislature, okay, who passed a near total ban on a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And this is really the first of its kind to be passed after the reversal of Roe. So, Luke, my question to you is, what are congressional Republicans saying when asked about that gap between, you know, essentially what voters want and what lawmakers are imposing on them?
Well, I think if you talk to them honestly, they will admit that the party went too far on abortion. And some of them have, you can watch closely, they've started to change their rhetoric some, and they're starting to emphasize things like exceptions, because some of these bills in some of these states were saying, were about banning abortion with no exceptions whatsoever. And so I do think you're seeing a softening of the Republican Party after that Kansas vote. And they have, I think, realized that this is dampening their chances in the midterms. There's a lot of people, Democrats, but independents and some Republicans too, who don't want this sort of very hard right stance on abortion, and we're motivated to go to the polls. So, you know, House Republicans have been counting on sweeping in with this big wave and then also taking back the Senate. And now you're seeing people like Mitch McConnell say, well, maybe we'll hold the Senate, maybe we won't. I think they realize that their election chances have been dampened some by abortion.
I mean, Reese, I think Luke makes a really important point. From my perspective, you know, some of my Republican friends, they were not running on fining doctors and jailing doctors, right, or forcing 10-year-olds to have babies by their rapists, but that's exactly what is happening. Are the people you are speaking with on a regular, are they alarmed by this at all?
Actually, I don't think that there's enough alarm about what's happening. To your point, Simone, they aren't running on these things, but if you look at the record, it's already happening. Greg Abbott in Texas, he just signed last year jailing people who prescribe abortion medication, even through telemedicine, after a certain period. And so what Republicans have already done, what they're continuing to do in places like Indiana, are happening. It's just, as Luke and you are pointing out, the rhetoric might be softening a little bit, but that's about it. The problem, though, is that the single issue abortion voters are Republican voters. So we have to find a way to where the Democratic voters, are the disaffected and disillusioned 50% of the country that doesn't vote voters, see that this is an issue that everybody needs to be activated and engaged on, and making sure that what happens on the ballot, we don't get an up or down vote on abortion, specifically like what happened in Kansas. We have to vote on the legislators. And that's what people need to be recognizing when they go or choose not to go to the ballot box in November.
Though Kansas voters came out overwhelmingly to protect their state right, there are only 4 abortion clinics in the state alone. Again, there are only 4 abortion clinics in the state alone, which leads to voting. Back in 2020, Kansas gave their vote to the Guardians of Putin, which leads us into Indiana, who also voted for the Guardians of Putin, which allowed their governor to pass one of the strictest abortion laws in the country that will take effect on September 15th, 2022. The only way women can get abortions in Indiana is if they are rape victims or incest involved, and that also has a limited window of 10 weeks, which leads us into Idaho, who also voted for the guardians of Putin. Now, the DOJ is filing suit against Idaho, citing that they violated federal law which impacts medical providers. This has prompted President Biden to sign an executive order securing the access to reproductive and other healthcare services within the country. I will leave several links in the description and comments below. Once again, watch what the GOP do and not what they say. Words mean nothing when you are blocking the progress of your fellow American. If you can block voting rights, blocking veterans from getting aid, blocking women from having control over their own bodies, blocking persons who they choose to love, then you need to be called out, which leads to Congress that makes the law. On November 8th, 2022, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for election and 34 seats in the Senate. We cannot complain because elections have consequences, elections matter, and I will see you in the next video.